I'm gonna go over 4 things in this video. Why I'm playing BV, Blade Vortex, how exactly we obtain 100% global poison chance, the budget and how you could make some of these budgets a little bit cheaper if you're super poor, and lastly, my gearing and crafting explanations, which I'll go over while I'm overviewing my POBs that I've set up, which I have 3 of down in the description. Go check them out. But watch the video too, okay? Watch the video too, but check them out later after you watch the video. Of course. So why am I playing Blade Vortex? Well, the league kind of sucked. So I just wanted to play a build to vibe out and blast some maps with some proliferating explosions over on my stream, twitch.tv/trypolarbear. I've been thinking of taking the Blade Blast League starter that I had and making it into Poison BV. Gucci came in and talked about how sick it is to have huge AoE and 100% global poison chance with Asenath's Glove and Profane Bloom. And I was like, true. And then I started making some POBs. This is a bit different than other Poison Blade Vortex builds because of the previously mentioned 100% global poison chance. This allows our Profane Bloom and our Asenath explosions to spread our poisons. And the Asenath Glove allows us to spread our curses with Curse on Hit, as well as a aura that the gloves give. This allows our explosions to keep chaining and keep proliferating off of each other until there are no monsters left to kill. We are also going to use Herald of Ash because it makes the build look way cooler. It looks so much sicker. And for some reason, it feels like it does something, even though it probably only does a little bit of the heavy lifting. Because if you don't know, Herald of Ash's damage over time that it applies in that area, right? The Herald of Ash kind of explosion is only dealt on the overkill damage, which needs a hit. It's not the overkill that your poison could have done or your ignite could have done. It's hit damage. Now, our Profane Bloom and Asenath explosion hits probably do a pretty decent amount of damage, and there might be some overkill damage there. So the Herald of Ash inflicts its damage over time, and it probably does a little bit. But man, if you got an MTX, it just makes the build look so much better. So from this base of explosions and poison proliferation, we just scale the hell out of area of effect as hard as we reasonably can without giving up too much in the way of other options. This build is very good for clearing maps, but I do not recommend this build if you plan on doing bossing. You can do your guardians on a higher budget. You can get away with stuff like that. The map bosses shouldn't be an issue, but if you're trying to do uber bossing, if you're trying to clear the pinnacle bosses to farm them, or if you're doing invitation farms, this is not the build for that, right? Think about it. I'm scaling AoE. I'm making circles bigger. I'm not making my survival bigger or my damage bigger. I'm making the circles bigger, and I'm making my explosions bigger, which rely on me killing many smaller monsters. So this is not a bossing build, but you should be fine in your map bosses. Should be no problem at all, right? I didn't make it a crappy build. I just made it a mapping build for explosions and area of effect. So do not take this into bossing. So how are we hitting that 100% global poison chance? For the very first budget version, you'll obtain 40% from Herald of Agony, 10% through 2 rare jewels that have 5% poison chance each. You get 15 and 10 from the passives on your passive tree, and the last bit from the Curse Mastery, which gives 20% chance to inflict ailments against cursed enemies. This brings us to 95%, which is good enough for the very first budget. The second budget is going to use an Ashes of the Stars, which gives us enough quality to give Divergent Herald of Agony, which is the quality version that gives additional poison chance as well, which gets us up to 67 now instead of that 40%. This supplies us with enough poison chance to drop the 2 rare jewels and replace them with forbidden jewels for even more AoE. The very last budget option is just Headhunter and has the exact same poison chance as the last. So what are the budgets and how could you make them cheaper if you really need? Well, the budget for the very first version is about 10 to 15 divines, and that's because I wanted to make it good enough to farm red maps with altars and to not die all the time on the bosses. If you need, you can make these cheaper by just not getting suppression and instead having this base of a build, which is fairly accessible, with Asenaths being only 10 to 15, maybe 20 chaos for uncorrupted versions. You can make it really, really cheap. All of that expense is there so that it's comfortable in red maps. But if you want, you can just do some white map essence blasting. You could do some expedition in your white maps. You can grind up a lot of currency there, you know, exclamation mark poor. You could do a bunch of that if you need until you have 10 to 15 divines. I really recommend you not to do red maps without this kind of setup, or it's really not going to be that comfortable, and it's barely comfortable here, right? Most of the budget for the very first version is a level 3 Enlighten, about a Divine, and Inspired Learning, about 3, and buying the correct Fractured Suppression bases and your Shrieking / Deafening Essences, alongside also getting Eldritch Implicits, which are very, very important to fit in all your auras, to have enough armor for your Molten Shell to actually do something, and to just in general give a lot of quality of life to the build. The second budget is about 40 Divines, taken up by the Ashes of the Star, a Despair on hit Corrupted Asenath's Gloves, which frees up our ring slot, and the alt quality gems, which boost our damage and enable us to use Malevolence with the Divine Blessing much easier than the last setup. You're also going to want 2 Forbidden Jewels for this setup to allow you to take Forbidden Power, which allows us to stack power charges for additional area of effect, which works very, very nice. Even though we're not scaling power charges too much, it's still a very nice pickup, and you can grab not just Forbidden Power, Forbidden Jewels, right? You could get Withering Presence, Profane Bloom, that's obviously going to be expensive, but you could get Malediction too. You just need to get one of those, and then you put the points into the other. The very last third budget option is going to be Headhunter plus 50, because it was the build that I was playing before I dropped my mirror. Go check that video out, by the way. It was pretty sick. And I sold the mirror and bought a Headhunter, because why the hell not? So it's pretty much the second budget option plus Headhunter. A couple changes. I took away some of the life, as you can probably notice. Since we're Headhunter, we get a lot of survival, and our Molten Shell carries hard enough until we get ramped up. So I was able to drop a lot of life and get some cluster jewels instead. So we can scale our area of effect even higher and even harder, which is so, so good. God, I love this build. It's actually such a blast to play, and it wasn't even that expensive. So now I'm just going to talk about the POBs. I'm going to get real lazy here. It's not going to be super in-depth. It'll be really straightforward if you just follow the POBs. And one last thing, if you do want to level, I would really recommend you to just level as a Poisonous Concoction Occultist until about level 85, or just ignore that and play a super scuffed crappy version with less life damage and survival. Your choice. This is the very first budget option, the super cheap budget. You see here, this is where we're going to put our Inspired Learning. I'm just going to talk generally about the tree here, the masteries, and my rationale behind choosing a lot of this stuff, just so there's no questions and, you know, why I'm doing this, why I'm doing that. But right here is where we're going to put our Inspired Learning, because there's not going to be a better spot. This gets us a power charge, which is handy for the later one when you get AoE per power charge. When you get this on a Forbidden Jewel, you get frenzies, which are nice, and we generate these through overcharged, which is on kill. Overcharged, not very good when you're doing bossing, but since this is a pure mapping character, there is no need to generate charges on bosses or anything like that. We can generate them all on kill. We also are going to get a little bit of suppression from Resourcefulness, which gives us some maximum energy shield, which is very important because we are going to be Eldritch Battery. We are EB, Eldritch Battery, so that we don't have to worry about mana costs, because when you're Eldritch Battery, your ES is always recharging because it's now protecting your mana, and you're going to see that in the gameplay. My ES is going to be on the right. It's going to be over the mana, and it's going to constantly be going up. I cost, and it goes down a little bit, but it always is recharging, which is very nice. It's kind of like a mana regen. We also are EB because of a Malevolence setup, which we're going to have right here. It's going to be a 4-link in this case. This, linked with Divine Blessing, makes our Malevolence cost mana. Instead of reserving, it has a mana cost, and it is a temporary aura. Now this one, since we are scaling skill effect duration as a Blade Vortex build and linking increased duration, it lasts 25 seconds. So no being wieners, okay? Don't be a little wiener down in the comments about having to press another button for an aura. If you don't want to, just don't. You know, just miss out on the damage, okay? But for that, we need enough energy shield. We've got 458 down here. If we go to our Malevolence, POB does work now. It's 433. Now, you have to understand, you need an anomalous increased duration, or you need to have a level 3 Enlighten, or you need to buy a very expensive Divergent Inspiration. You gotta have one of those. You gotta. You might even need 2 of them, depending on how much ES you have and if some stuff is a little scuffed. But you at least need the Divergent Divine Blessing. Yeah, you probably don't even really need that. Nah, you do. You do. You need Divergent Divine Blessing, Anomalous Increased Duration. These aren't terribly expensive, but your next best option is to spend 1 divine to get an Enlighten 3, which frees up a little bit more mana that can be used in conjunction with the energy shield that you get from EB, because right now it's just a level 2 Enlighten. Don't ask me about this. Please just solve it on your own. I believe you guys, okay? Well, I believe in you. No questions about malevolence, please. Okay, back to masteries, back to overcharge. This mastery is cool. We're getting charges. Once you get max power charges, you can't be shocked. It's pretty tight, man. If you don't like this, then get shocked, I guess. We're coming over here for skill effect duration, more skill effect duration. Blade Vortex is a duration ability. Malevolence is going to last longer. Our Vaal BVs will be out longer. And it just makes sense to get skill effect duration. And our withering step will last longer as well when we apply our wither stacks through it. Then we're kind of just getting the Grace Reservation Mastery, so we can fit that in. We're just getting some life. This is the level 85 tree. We'll talk about the 95 as well. For the Poison Mastery, we're going to get the 300% increased damage on non-poisoned enemies. This isn't really that crazy for your Blade Vortex, but, well, it is kind of, right? It is really good. And it helps kind of get that stuff rocking and rolling right away. But what this is really good for is for the proliferating explosion poison damage. This will also have 300 increased damage when your explosions do their first poison as well, which is going to be a huge one. So it's really good for that. The other poison is just going to be duration, because poison duration is absolutely bonkers. Look at that, 10% of my total damage comes from 20 poison duration. Now, is this fake DPS? Nope. But if you want, you can do 20% faster, which might feel good. Like I said, we do the 20% chance to inflict ailments on cursed enemies, and then we're just gonna grab some area of effect. Other than that, it's just aura masteries. You get 10 aura effect, and you get 8% damage for each aura. For the skills, it's BV with damage supports and unleash. So it takes some time, you get some seals, and then you get to do 4 Blade Vortexes at the same time. When you have the money, you buy Awakened Unleash at level 5, because level 5 gets your maximum seal to 4, which means you have the 1 original cast, the 4 sealed unleashes, which gives you 5 Blade Vortexes then. And then you wait, and then you cast another 5 once you get the max seals. You'll get a kind of feel for it. This lets you hit 10 right away, whereas if you don't have Awakened, you hit 8, and you need to do some half-assed cast for the last 2. It's just shield charge, faster attack, flame dash, so you're not a schmuck moving around slow. Plague Bearer, Ink AoE, Wither Step. You want these linked together, so it's easy to apply the withers on bosses with Withering Step. And Plague Bearer is just dope. Just buy a level 21 Plague Bearer and, you know, pop it, and you just shield charge around and everything dies and they explode, and it's really cool. Malevolence, we already covered this. You do Inspiration just for the reduced mana cost. Doesn't matter if you don't have Inspiration anywhere. The gem itself gives reduced mana cost. The gloves are going to be your aura setup. We're using Grace. If you want, you can press Vaal Grace. Honestly, I have it on my build, but I never press it. I just have too many. I have too many buttons, so I just don't fit it on my hotbar. Determination, Herald of Agony, linked all to an Enlighten level 2. Cast when damage taken, Molten Shell. I have VMS. I also don't use it. Too many buttons, so I'm over it. Defiance Banner to get our armor and evasion up so we don't die all the time, and then Herald of Ash, because if you don't have this, it doesn't look as cool. This here is just to estimate the Profane Bloom area of effect. Armageddon Brand, and this is to simulate the non-spell poison chance. But Armageddon Brand has the same base AoE as your Profane Bloom. So you can see here we have a 25 radius Profane Bloom. That's kind of just nice. For the gearing, you do Obliteration. For the physical is extra chaos, and you get an extra explosion chance, which is really nice. For your shield, just get +1 fizz with life. Craft fizz is extra chaos. Your helmet, you get fractured T2 suppression. If you have to, you can go down to T3, but we're getting kind of scuffed now. Right, we're already going to be at 94 spell suppression, which isn't capped because you're doing T2 and low rolls, right? Low T2 rolls I did everywhere instead of high, which are probably going to cost more. But all of these, the helmet, your body armor, your boots, these 3 slots are just going to be fractured suppression, which is a suffix. Then you use a deafening essence, which is another suffix for a res, right? You would use anger, wrath, or hatred, right? Lining up with the auras for the resistances. So you get huge fire, then you roll deafening or shrieking until you get another huge resistance, which is really, really easy. Now you have 3 really good suffixes. Then you Eldritch Chaos for life. You know, you get 50 life, whatever, right? Eldritch Chaos are a little expensive. You just do that, and then you finish it with a craft. Even if you get like 30 life, and if you're poor, just, you know, screw it, dude. You got 30 life for now. You can just do your prefixes later, right? You can just Eldritch Chaos again. You know, it'll be fine. On your helmet, though, you need the suffix open for duration of ailments while focused. So you're going to be greeding or resing. So you could greed, guaranteeing life until you hit a res, or you could use an anger, getting fire res until you get decent life. This is the only slot where you do that until later on, where we drop ailment duration while focus. And you just put this on left mouse button, gives you a lot of damage, right? We're at 2.5 million now, and it pops you up to 3.5, plus your Plague Bearer and a second Vaal Blade Vortex, which you should save for the map bosses. The implicits, you gotta have RMR, I guess mana reservation efficiency. You have to have that. The AoE, whatever, but you have to have mana reservation efficiency so you can fit all your auras in. Your chest is just Fractured Suppression. You spam the res essences, and then you Eldritch Chaos for life, and you craft the Gravicious mod for Fizz taken as Fire and Lightning. It's really, really nice. It's really good. Then you get Determination Aura Effect, and then just normal Aura Effect. So you die less. It's pretty cool. Same thing on the boots, except now you get, as your implicits, gain Fizz's extra Chaos and action speed, and then your craft is going to be the move speed and onslaught, which is just Syndicate Unveil. Here, you'd really want a strength base, because you need enough strength for determination and your shield charge max level. So you get strength with strength. You can get strength on another piece, but you just need strength here. Dot multi res. If you can get them, that's great. You can even craft this. If you just grab fracture dot multi, then you do a strength essence until you hit a res. Then you just craft life and you anoint corruption, which gives you huge wither effect, giving you lots of single target damage. For your ring, it's just despair on hit. This is a caster reforge, or just buy one. Right, you get one that has like a little bit of res, or you get one that has a little bit of life, and then you craft res. Like it should be pretty cheap. And then your belt is just triple res and some life. Belts like these are actually not that expensive. They're like 50 to 100 chaos. For some of you, you might say 50 to 100 chaos. That's really expensive for a slot. And to that, I say, shut up and please just buy better gear. Anyways, please, God, all right, I was the same way, brother, but come on, dude, you got to start getting actual good pieces eventually. Come on, join us. Your flasks, they're really important. You need reduced curse effect, armor during flask effect, and then evasion rating. Get these 3 mods on any 3 of these flasks. We use quartz because it's scuffed and you want extra suppression and phasing. It's fine. You're a mapping build, blast. And then enchant them all with use on full. Granite, and then a quicksilver, so you move quick. Instead of a jade, we use a stibnite, which is just Sin's Rebirth, and it's fine. You blind enemies with this and your Asenaths, so you get a little evasion there, which I don't have checked, but you get 20 more evasion rating. You lose a little bit of evasion chance versus Jade, but we gain Unholy Might, which is a lot of damage. We go from 2.2 to 2.5. We get 300k damage from a flask. Then it's just your 2 jewels with poison and hit chance and an inspired learning. That's the super cheap version. Should be pretty easy to set up, honestly. It's not too complicated. The crafting's all like beyond easy. For the second version, it's going to be Ashes of the Star, and we're going to start getting a lot more area of effect on this one. You see on the first one, we were rocking somewhere around 20, 25. Yeah, it was like 24, 25. You can get 3 more AoE. So like you can see the breakpoint, right? Next big breakpoint, 3% AoE. If you want, you know, you could grab an AoE Corrupted Obliteration right away, but I just don't tell people to do that in the very cheap ones because otherwise they complain. Inspired Learning, you could get AoE. You could even, hell, you could even get a Corruption AoE on like just Poison Chance or something, right? To get that one extra one. But this one takes it to the max. Not the max, but we're knocking it up a little bit. Now it's 30 radius, right? We got an extra 5 radius on our Profane Bloom, which is really good. And then extra radius on BV feels super nice as well. But we get this through things like corruptions on obliteration, which gives you 19. I think it's like 15 to 20. I grabbed a 19 obliteration. That's really nice. You can start doing things once you get to this setup, like grabbing a fractured +1 fizz shield, and then you're crafting that so that you can get like double suffix res, and then you get some like life on there, or you know, do whatever, right? But you can grab fractured base on your shield and start blasting on that. This helmet should be just about the same. You still kind of want the damage, except we're going to swap that implicit out now that we have more mana reservation because we have more money. We can instead swap the implicit for physical damage taken as fire and we can upgrade our area of effect there to 14, hit another threshold. The dragon scale is going to be the exact same, except, you know, try to upgrade your implicits there. The other one should have like 10 aura effect, but I'm too lazy to change it now. But this one is increased aura effect, so I boosted this through the orbs of conflict to be 16 instead of 10, which is really nice. Just an extra 6. Boots are the exact same, but the Asenaths now are going to have despair on hit. And this is because we want to free up our ring slot because we don't have our amulet for res or anything else anymore. So our ring is now freed up for triple res and life. You can just buy stuff like this super cheap. Same as the belt. It's not really worth it to craft these because of how cheap they are. So just go ahead and do that. I didn't mention before, but we're using Ming's Heart. This ring's just insane. 69 fizzes extra chaos. Bodes well with Asenaths, and our Blade Vortex. It's just cracked stuff, dude. And because of this, we get all of our chaos resistance, literally all of it, from Withering Presence, which is the Occultist Ascendancy, which gives us a lot of chaos res, right? We get 60 from this, and our Ming's Heart. We get it all there, right there, bing bong. And no more chaos res, and we're capped. Super easy. The belt's the exact same, except if you can, you get the enchant for minus wither. You probably can't, so whatever, but you know, it is what it is. If you can get it, if you can run them, it's really good. Another minus 6 chaos res is really tight, and then you just get increased damage there if you can have that open prefix to craft there. I assume you can buy a different belt at this point. The forbidden jewels, on this example, I grab a forbidden jewel for malediction. You can grab a forbidden jewel for withering presence or forbidden power, right? Like if I get withering presence, then I just spec these two, and I spec this, and my forbidden jewel gives me withering presence. But I got one for malediction now. You know, it's just whatever, right? Just grab one, whatever it is, it'll work. And then we're using Ashes of the Star. This is really good because it's giving us reservation efficiency. Like I said, it's freeing up our helmet slot, which is really tight, to get another 6 fizz taking us fire, giving us more fizz hit, our fizzmit. And you get quality on all your gems. You get an extra level on all your gems. Because of that extra quality that Ashes of the Star is adding, we get a lot of damage, and we get a little bit of utility, and we get a little ease of gearing. So now we can grab a Divergent Herald of Agony, which gives us, normally it would be just a 20% extra poison chance on hit, but since we have so much extra quality, we can get that up to a total of 68. So, you know, you get another 28 poison chance there, which is really, really nice on the Herald of Agony. It's super, super killer. For the alternate quality gems, we are also going to pick up an anomalous cast from damage taken if you can. Ignore this if it's expensive, just that's not an important one. But the Vaal Molten Shell anomalous, this is really nice. If you don't know, Vaal Molten Shell caps its total guard out at 10k, which equals 50,000 armor, from what I remember. But if you get anomalous, this buff can take an additional 5% of your armor. So it acts as if we have more armor when calculating the total guard of Molten Shell. And this goes and pairs really well with Ashes. So we don't need as much armor to get as large of a Molten Shell. Here, if you can get an anomalous Defiance banner, it's really good, but that's probably too expensive to be worth it. And the next most important one is going to be a Divergent Plague Bearer. This gives us so much extra damage. This is 13% damage, another 500,000. Super, super good. If you can grab an anomalous Withering Step in the last step as well, these are really good to inflict an extra 2 Withering debuffs, but hey, we get extra quality, so now it's inflicting 11 total, which is super killer. And that should be it for all the different qualities and whatnot. At this stage, though, you can grab Awakened gems, and like we talked about, you grab a level 5 Awaken Unleash. You see now it has a maximum of 4 seals, so it has the original cast, then 4 seals, giving us 5 blades out with a total of 10, right? So then you just wait a little bit, you get another cast, and now you're at 10 total. It's really, really clean. All of these are super good at Awakened, Unbound, Void Manip, Deadly Elements. Super, super good. If you want, and if you're struggling, or if you want damage, you can even take out this increased area of effect and go ahead and grab like an Empower at level 3. You can do something like this. Otherwise, you could even do like a level of 4 Empower, right? Like it's a little expensive, but then your next best is going to be Cruelty as far as POB is concerned, but don't run that because we're using Deadly Elements and we have no hit damage at all. So just POB is lying to you. It's fake. If you can only run level 3, then you probably just do efficacy if you can't afford level 4 in power. And this gives you a little bit more duration on your Blade Vortex as well. And it, you know, it's quality of life or whatever. But for now, Ink AoE, it's kind of just, you know, tight. Makes your circles bigger. I like it. But that is about it there. As far as the gear is concerned, all your flasks are the exact same. We still get Sin's Rebirth for the Unholy Might. We already covered most of it. The tree is going to be mostly the same as well. Except now we're going to, because we're a higher level, kind of branch over to Scion, and this is how we get that strength off of our gear. We get 10, 20, 30, 40 strength, so we don't need that 40 strength roll on any of our gear pieces. We get enough attributes with a attribute catalyzed and rolled Ashes of the Star. We get enough strength from that and a heavy belt to not need like any points on the tree or anything like that. Once you're at this point, you're probably blasting. And also, these points are really, really good. These are insane. This is crazy damage. These are like 6% damage, almost 7% each. Well, at least this last one is. They're insane. And they're almost better damage than this. They are better damage than this. The shadow starting nodes are better than this. It's just wild. But it is how it works out, dude. That's just how it be. This is really good. The Chaos Mastery for dot multi. So this is a level 96 tree. There are different trees, but this is really killer. If you want though, if you're, no. That's for the Headhunter version. Yeah, tree's exactly the same. All right, bing bong. On to the Headhunter Super Blaster version. Let's start with the tree here. So we're gonna do a cluster setup. We get away with that by giving up life and giving up some extra, like the inspired learning points, the damage at the shadow start. And this lets us get a cluster, and it lets us grab a unnatural instinct. These are so expensive. They're like 20 divines each. But man, this is so good. It gives us 36 AoE. We get extra life regen. We're getting a little bit of curse effect. I guess it's damage. Yeah, a little curse effect, a little damage with hits against cursed enemies. We get some increased physical damage, which is just wild. And then we're also getting extra cast speed. Like, this is just bonkers. This spot is so good. And we get skill effect duration. It's just, all in all, it's way too good to not get it if you have the money. This is probably like the last thing I would get. I would get that even after a Headhunter. But yeah, we gave up a lot of life, but you have Headhunter, and you know, you're fine, man. As long as you just keep blasting like your Headhunter, you ramp up, you get enough defenses from it, you get some extra life, and you're totally fine. We take away these points here, so we can retain this, even though this is less damage, right? This gives 2.6% damage per point, while these give 5.5, right? So we get so much extra damage from taking those nodes, like I said before. But we need this because we have Headhunter now, and all of those dumbass Headhunter buffs give physical conversion. So we need physical converted to chaos. This is kind of, you know, whatever, you can just vibe it out. I think this is the play. If you don't, then it's whatever, right? Like, you can just swap it up. Like, it's for regrets, right? If you disagree with me. But I think this is nice. Even though if you get Chaos Weaver, all your damage with hits can poison, even though yada yada yada, sometimes your explosion, in my mind, could get goofed by, or your BV could get goofed if you just take like whatever it is. It's like Flame Strider, Frost Strider, Thunder Strider, or whatever, right? And then now 75% of your physical is converted to elemental damage. With we do nothing with elemental, so our Void Manip, right, tanks it. We get like nothing from it, right? Because support skills deal no elemental damage. Now your Asenath Explosion could still kind of benefit from it, right? But yeah, it kind of just goofs like a lot of our damage. It has the potential to do it, but I mean, if you disagree, so be it. Instead of getting Unholy Might from a flask, now that we have a cluster, we grab Overwhelming Malice, and then just grab like another node, like whatever. Grab 3 notables and try to just make sure a 30% chaos damage, and then this one right here. For your mediums, you grab Vast Power, which gives you AoE per power charge, and Assert Dominance, which gives you AoE after you killed 5 enemies. Just do that in both. Bing bong. Now you have a Forbidden Jewel, so you have Forbidden Power, which gives you a hell of a lot of AoE per power charge. Combined with Vast Power, it's pretty nice to have power charges. You can come up here and grab this and then anoint the other one, but I didn't really find it to be worth it for how much investment it was into that. And this is just my character, by the way, so the gearing is just like what I have. It's going to be a lot less clean. There's going to be a bunch of random mods and whatnot, but hey, man, it is what it is. So the chest piece here, I have fractured AoE. This is an Essence of Hysteria mod that I was able to yoink because I'm a streamer. And if I come up with a good idea, I can buy an item super cheap before any other streamer or YouTuber releases a video on it. So I got this for like 30C or something. Non-rolled, of course, but it was a Triumphant Lamnar, level 80, item level 85, fractured AoE. That's really good. You can make this on your own, but if you want a chest like this, your best bet is to probably just grab Fractured Suppression, and then you would just use Essences of Hysteria until you hit a decent like T2, T1 res, and it should be pretty cheap. It should be like, I think what I did on stream, it was like 15, 18 essences, something like that, which is, you know, they're expensive essences, but hell of a lot cheaper than fracturing this mod on your own through the Harvest Crafting Bench. The helmet, instead of focus duration, I now use the prefix craft AoE and a level of AoE gems, which gives my auras, determination, grace, herald of agony, 1 extra level, which is really nice. I have dumb, stinky life here, but I hit 24 rarity, so, you know, it's rarity league. I'm going to keep it. You see here, this is what I ended up with when I was doing shrieking or deafening greeds for the life. I just spammed those on a fractured 1 all, and look at that, I got 1 all fizz, right? I got life regen, fire res, max res, really, really good, and then an open prefix for the craft. The helmet enchant that you'd want here is the Plague Bearer Poison dot multi while infecting. That's just really, really killer for your single target damage. Let's see, is anything else changed? The Asenath is just despair on hit. You do corruption. Mings is unchanged. That's unchanged. It's a headhunter. I guess the last thing I do is instead of a Jade Flask and instead of replacing the Stib Knight, right, Sin's Rebirth, which gave us Unholy Might, instead of replacing that with just the Jade, I replaced it with a Gold Flask because it's meme fucking Goblin Pinata League. So, you know, it's just what you got to do this league. So I'm just using a Gold Flask with rarity crafted on there. Okay. Thanks, BGG. Unnatural Instinct. For the jewels, so this is the last thing. For the Watcher Eye here, we have Suppression Chance because we're giving up suppression from somewhere, I forget. Oh, it's the suppression here that we were taking for in the Inspired Learning. We go Grace, Suppression, and then just grab any Determination mod, literally almost any of them, right? They're all really good. You can get extra, you can get like an extra 500 to 1,000 armor. You can get physical damage reduction. I got unaffected by vulnerability, which is really nice. You could get reduced extra damage from crits. Just try to grab something, right? Like just anything. Otherwise, just grab Suppression Chance, and that'll be good enough. It'll be like Life and Suppress on a jewel. And yes, that's really good. And for me, to have enough energy shield here, since I had to drop so much ES, I had to drop these hybrid nodes, and I had to drop resourcefulness, which gave me 10, and then these gave me another 10 each. So I dropped 20 increase ES. It's really close to my mana right now, right? So for me, I wanted to get a Corrupting Blood Jewel. I got a Corrupting Blood Jewel that also had a chance to avoid an ailment, which was Ignite in this case. Then I wanted to get another one, but I also needed something to fix my ES, because right now I had 384 energy shield and I needed 445 because of Eldritch Battery to cast my Malevolence. So I grabbed a Searching Eye with CB immunity and 30 max ES, which got me there. It's kind of troll, but hey, I got CB immunity, I'm avoiding some ignites, some bleeds, and I'm getting enough ES where I can actually use Malevolence. And now we have like 30k armor, we're moving and grooving, we got 22,000 evasion rating, you know, the build's feeling comfortable, we got decent max hits all around, even though I have 3.6k life, but you know, hey Lance, it's POB padding to have Molten Shell on, right? But even then, we're at 40k max fizz, and the Ellie is really weak because we don't have any extra Ellie res. But hey, it's fine. Our Ellie is solved once you start picking up a bunch of Headhunter buffs and get extra max res and just start taking less damage. It's a Headhunter build, all right? We're blasting maps. We're not here to have a lot of all-around utility. I'm here to have explosions across the entire screen and to just come buckets constantly while I'm clearing the maps. Anyways, there's a little bit of stuff in the notes for how to craft the gear, but I mean, you see the pattern, right? Like, I'll make this a whole video. You guys are going to see it soon. I'll make it a whole goddamn video. The video is going to be, yo, this is how you craft every item this league. And I'm going to tell you to grab a fractured suffix and then use a suffix essence, you know, for another res, right? So you grab fractured suppression, then you use deafening anger for fire res, and then you hit a big cold res. There you go. That's how you craft like 99% of things. If you're an Omni build, you grab a fractured stat, use a stat essence to hit another stat, and then you just do your life, right? On Eldritch, or you get it through like locking and then veiled chaosing for like a jewelry option or something. It's like all this gear is, right? You grab a fracture, you use an essence to hit another mod, and then you finish with Eldritch Chaos, or you know, you have to do some shenanigans to get it. But there's no shenanigans here because screw all the shenanigans that are happening in this league. We're kicking it old school. Anyways, let me know how this build is, and also comment down below if you made it to the end of the video. Just give me a good old bing bong. Just say a bing bong if for some reason you watched 20 minutes of me talking over a POB. Anyways, like, subscribe, catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, homies.